Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Thursday, June 13th, 2019, and today we're going to be discussing the DNC named candidates for the 2020 the first 2020 Democratic presidential primary debate. This will be taking place in June of 2019. I think that it is very notable that these debates are taking place very, very early compared to where they were back in 2016. None of the debates actually took place this early. I mean, this is probably one of the earliest debates that we've seen for a presidential primary amongst the Democratic or Republican parties. A lot of it is because many candidates did announce in early 2019, some in 2018, even one in 2017. So when we're looking at a lot of these dates from 2016, they aren't exactly lining up with what we're seeing now because of the fact that this process has pretty much been expedited. The primary dates are still remaining the same. The caucus dates are still remaining around the same general time, but just the whole campaign cycle definitely went underway a lot faster than even I personally expected. But today's video is going to be purely about the named candidates for the 2020 Democratic debate. So, on your screen right now, you see all the people that were named by the DNC. Essentially, if we look and you read through here, the Democratic debate, pretty much to qualify, you needed, I believe, 2% higher in polling. I'm pretty sure it mentions it down here, but it says that you need to meet a threshold through polling and grassroots fundraising thresholds. And some of these had qualified through polling only. So essentially just higher than, I'm assuming, 2% nationwide, or possibly even 1% considering how many candidates there are. But the Democratic Party had to narrow it down to 20 candidates. So we have Beto O'Rourke, Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, of course, Bernie Sanders, those top names there. There are some interesting people here. We have Andrew Yang, who pretty much has been taken like a joke this entire campaign season. Really looking at his policies, he's not necessarily the same as someone like Joe Biden or Kirsten Gillibrand. If we're looking at him personally, he does seem a little bit different than the rest of the Democratic candidates, but he's still going to be on that debate stage. He's still going to get the same type of national exposure. So that'll be good for a number of these low polling candidates. I think this could be a time for them to shine, and possibly like overnight, if we look at people like Carly Fiorina or Ben Carson, spring into a second or third place position overnight. It could last for just a day. As we saw in 2016 with some Republican candidates, but there are chances that these candidates could actually be here to stay. So, again, if we're looking at these names, we have Senator Michael Bennet of Colorado, Joe Biden, Cory Booker, Pete Buttigieg, Julian Castro, Bill de Blasio, John Delaney, Tulsi Gabbard, Kirsten Gillibrand, Kamala Harris, John Hickenlooper, Jay Inslee, Amy Klobuchar, Beto O'Rourke, Tim Ryan, Bernie Sanders, Eric Swalwell, Elizabeth Warren, Marianne Williamson, and Andrew Yang. So, pretty much, if you're looking, you need to these candidates pretty much all met the threshold. There aren't many candidates that did not appear on this list. 20 is a very, very large pool to choose from for these Democratic voters. If you look, the candidates that were not on here were Governor Steve Bullock from Montana, Alaska Senator Mike Gravel, Florida Mayor Wayne Messam, and I've never really heard of him, and Seth Moulton of Massachusetts. So those are the only candidates that are not on there. The only two notable people will probably be Steve Bullock and Mike Gravel. Other than that, probably the rest of them aren't too noticeable for this, Democratic debate. Nobody's really going to actually miss them on stage. But if we're looking at these candidates, again, there are so many top names here, but it's going to be a random selection, which, to be honest, I'm questioning the true idea of the randomness, because it's probably going to end up with Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris on the same debate stage. But again, we can really see. If we're looking at these candidates, I'm pretty sure that most of you recognize a number of these names. Going down that list, personally, I would say the general, news watcher for the American public, just a general citizen who watches the news, probably recognized 15 out of those 20 names, if not more. And that's mainly because the media really has done well in terms of giving attention to all these candidates when they announced. Not so much covering them now, but they're pretty well known nationwide. I mean, Julian Castro was discussed in being Hillary Clinton's VP nominee back in 2016, polling at 2% nationwide. So that name isn't exactly a household name, but people generally know who these candidates are. There are some newcomers like Pete Buttigieg that no one really expected before, and old people like John Delaney, who's been in this race since 2017. So it's pretty much a general mix. I think that this debate, both debates, I guess, could be very, very interesting. It's going to be 10 on each night. I believe it says June 26th and June 27th down here. Yes, June 26th and June 27th in Miami, so in the state of Florida, and it's going to be hosted by NBC. I don't think that's going to make too much of an impact. 5 moderators, though. But this is the first of 12 primary debates that the DNC has planned. 12 is a lot. 12 is definitely, a large number if we're looking at a total number of debates, which means that a lot of these candidates, they're probably not going to make all 12. They're probably going to drop out by the second or third one, maybe fourth or fifth, depending on how they're doing now. But a lot of these 1-2% candidates are going to drop out and try to aim for VP positions for people higher than them. As of right now, the top 3 candidates nationwide are Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and at the top, Joe Biden. Bernie Sanders, I believe, is in second place. Elizabeth Warren is in third. But things like that can pretty much change. A lot those top candidates can definitely change depending on these debates. And looking at someone like Joe Biden, a lot of you are expecting his numbers to decline after the debates. We will definitely see how well he does on June 26th or June 27th against a number of other candidates, because there are plenty of people in this race that want to take down Joe Biden, because if he goes down, their numbers will definitely rise. But Bernie Sanders has been in this race for a pretty long time. To be honest, he's pretty much been running since 2016. 2015 actually, but if we're looking at this general feud, Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden probably have had the longest feud amongst all these candidates, but a lot of them are really going to aim and hit pot shots at Joe Biden because he's a top candidate right now. They need to get his numbers now down before their numbers can go up. But if we're looking around, a lot of top names here, people that a lot of people are going to recognize on that debate stage. If you look at 2016, Hillary Clinton was pretty much the only notable Democrat running until Bernie Sanders entered the race. And even when Bernie Sanders originally announced, he was not well known whatsoever. So a lot of these candidates are definitely well known, and it looks like it's going to be a very, very interesting Democratic primary time. I do think that the best matchups would be a Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren debate, but that's not too likely to happen. But if it does happen, I think that the Democratic voters definitely are going to be, in for something good. They're definitely going to see a lot of things come out at that debate. Not to say that these other candidates can't exactly pressure Biden the same way, but he definitely could, laugh off a 1-2% candidate compared to an 18-19% candidate nationwide. But this list is pretty much exactly how I expected it to be. I didn't expect Steve Bullock to end up on this list. I don't necessarily agree that these many candidates should be debating. Yes, I understand that a lot of these candidates should have their voices heard, but a lot of them are polling at 1-2% and don't exactly have as much of a chance. But again, these debates definitely could change that, but generally that's not exactly what happens. Debates typically push the people who are generally in the top 6-7% up, 6-7 people up even higher, but the rest of them are probably going to drop out as each debate goes on. Again, 12 total debates. That should be very, very interesting. But again, things definitely can change because of these debates. These debates definitely don't set anything in stone whatsoever. Michael Bennet of Colorado, he's a current senator, which is pretty interesting. Vice President Joe Biden, of course, we all know who that is. Senator Cory Booker. Pretty much the only people that aren't exactly too well known to the general public. Probably be like someone like John Hickenlooper or Jay Inslee. Tim Ryan, probably, even though he's a notable Democrat, he's not exactly a known Democrat. Eric Swalwell, which is pretty surprising to me. Marianne Williamson made the Democratic debates. That's also pretty interesting to me. Andrew Yang isn't exactly known. He is amongst the political community and for some of his ideas, but he's not exactly a top name for winning the Democratic, debates. If you go to Real Clear Politics, if you look at the latest polls, and if you look at there's a new California poll, which I want to cover in a separate video, but if you go ahead and cover the national polls, if you're looking, Biden, of course, leads, but if we're looking at the numbers down here, this is pretty much where all the rest of these, bottom 15 candidates are. Okay, they're under the 5% mark, and they're pretty much just fighting for 11th, 12th place nationwide. If we look, Williamson is at 0.2%, Hickenlooper's at 0.4%, Gillibrand is surprisingly at 0.6%, But if we look, Bullock 0.2%, Delaney 0.2%, De Blasio 0.3%, Ryan 0.6%. So a lot of these candidates are actually under 1%. Okay, the only candidates that are above 1% or at 1% would be the top 8: Klobuchar, Booker, O'Rourke, Harris, Buttigieg, Warren, Sanders, and Biden. And there's 12 more other people on that debate stage that are polling less than 1%, which is not necessarily the best look for the Democratic Party, but it definitely gives people options, but it's not exactly the safest bet in terms of trying to decide on a nominee. But again, the Democratic Party definitely is not going to push for a certain candidate like many people thought happened in 2016. Could have happened. I'm not going to exactly say my opinion on that, but if we're looking at that, it looks like the Democratic Party is really trying to give every candidate a voice, but they aren't exactly polling too well nationwide. And again, that can change, but I do think that's just interesting to point out. So thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I'll see you all tomorrow.